Nick Yorke finally gets the call, and the Pirates face a power problem. Paul Skenes is about to stare down Blake Snell against the Dodgers. Oh, and what happens to team control if there's a lockout? That's next on Locked On Pirates.
You are Locked On Pirates, your daily Pittsburgh Pirates podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Pirates, your daily dose of black and gold baseball. I'm Gary Morgan. Today, we've got a loaded show. Nick Yorke and Cam Sanders joined the big club. We break down why power is the currency of playoff baseball and what a 2027 lockout could mean for team control, and more. Let's get into it. First, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is around the corner. Visit FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now. Pirates are recalling infielder Nick Yorke and right-hander Cam Sanders from AAA Indianapolis for their September 1st roster expansion moves. The official announcement is probably going to come at some point today, and it'll be probably just before the Dodgers series opener. And for Yorke, this marks his first promotion of the 2025 season. Now, we've all been calling for it just about all year long, but I think there's a little bit more to the story, and it's worth telling. He was a September call-up last year. He hit .216 with 2 home runs in 11 games. After being optioned at the end of spring training, he spent the entire season in Indy, aside from a brief IL stint in April with a sore shoulder. So in AAA this year, he's hit .287 with a .348 on-base percentage and a .408 slug. That's his slash line across 440 plate appearances, 7 home runs, 17 stolen bases, and 23 attempts, which is pretty decent because he's not really known as a base stealer. So this is more opportunistic and just using his natural speed a little bit. Also should take into account a little bit less of the AAA catchers are throwing guys out. You know what I mean? Best month was August. He hit .337, .382, and a .446 in 24 games. Nothing wrong with getting hot right before you get called up, right? Yorke's season started slow because of the injury, but I mean, he's steadily improved since May. While his numbers aren't dominant, they're solid, especially considering his versatility. He's primarily a second baseman, but he's logged time in left field, right field, even a few games at third base. We even saw him in spring play first base a little bit. I don't know if they've given that up or just don't see the need anymore, but we're constantly looking for who's going to be the right-handed side of that platoon at first base. And while I personally don't think it matters nearly as much as some of you do, it's definitely a position that many of you are trying to fill with different people. So it's worth mentioning that he's capable of doing so. We obviously got Yorke from the Red Sox. It was a 1-for-1 swap with Quinn Priester. Priester has since broken out with the Brewers, of course, and it makes the trade look like it's completely lopsided. But Yorke still has time to emerge, and Quinn still has time to show he's human, because it's great what he's doing, but man, you know as well as I do, you got to see that stuff for longer stretches, and we'll see where this goes for him. Nick Gonzalez is probably going to still get most of the reps at second base. So, I mean, I'm trying to figure out where Nick Yorke's going to play. He could spell Tommy Pham in left field. Pham's been hot, but he's a pending free agent. So, as we struggle with all the time, yeah, he does some good things and you want to praise him for it, you know, or at least begrudgingly accept it. But it just doesn't matter as much because he's very likely not to be back next year. You know what I mean? He might get a few starts at third base, but they got Cam Devaney there already. So I would think you'd want to get a longer look at him. I'm not saying there's not room to do other. If you ask me, the person who's probably going to suffer the most from this is somebody like Liover Peguero, who was barely getting any playing time at all, or Alexander Canario, who was just getting a start here and there. It was already clogged up too much to get him in there, and I think that's going to continue. And I would imagine Nick Yorke will get more opportunity, but there's a lot of places where they're kind of clogged up already. Cam Sanders, I don't want to spend a lot of time on Cam Sanders because he was just a reliever that they plucked up from AA. He was fine. They sent him back to AAA. It's time to bring him back up for an extra arm. He didn't do anything to like impress me or depress me. He didn't do anything that made me decide one way or another on him. I'll see him as bullpen fodder until such a time when he looks like he's more than bullpen fodder. Okay. I like having an extra arm in there. I wish we had another lefty. I probably would have preferred to see somebody like Hunter Barco, but as we've been talking about with the way they're handling this pitching staff and the starting and the piggybacking and all the ins and outs of what they're doing, it was going to be difficult to see another spot like that. I still think before the end of this season, we'll see them use their open 40-man spot on Hunter Barco. It just makes too much sense. He needs protected, first of all. It seems wise to get him one of those courtesy openings, at least, where he goes out and gives you 1 or 2 innings in one of the last games of the season, just to get his feet wet a little bit, get that debut out of the way. Doesn't matter. It's a reward for a hard-fought season where he really, really did nothing to make anybody feel he wasn't going to be really good. Problem with Hunter all season long has been we knew out of all of these pitchers that we're talking about, all these young kids, we knew he was going to be the one that was going to have the biggest innings hurdle as far as being the most restricted of all the starters. They were going to hold him back, and I understand why. He has not held himself back on his performance, though. He's been spectacular, and as long as they've let him go, he's done well. So I expect him to get a bigger bite at the apple next year, but Hunter Barco should still get a little bit of a mystery tour at the end of the season, if you will. I wouldn't get too hung up on that. And this won't be, by any stretch of the imagination, the last pitching move they make. They'll end up swapping other guys in and out. In fact, you could see them at some point feel like somebody has eclipsed their innings. It's time to just go ahead and shut them down. And you'll see that start to happen with about 2 weeks left. Their goal right now is to get all of these guys, Bubba, Ashcraft, Burrows, you name the young pitcher, they want to get them to the finish line. They want to finish the season with them in some form or fashion pitching for this baseball team. I get it. I just think at some point you do have to cut your losses and realize, okay, yeah, I got 3 innings left that I think this guy can throw. I'm not going to hold a roster spot up for that. And you just go ahead and let them be done for the season. I think you'll start to see some decisions like that with a couple weeks left in the season. But until then, we're going to get a run of all these young pitchers, and that's going to be interesting. Yorke's call-up, it's not just about filling a roster spot, though. It's about evaluating a pretty key trade piece. It's one of the biggest swings they've taken at sending pitching out directly for hitting. This is kind of proof of concept, really. This is like, hey, you sent out a former number 1 draft selection pitcher with a lot of pedigree, somebody who was at the top of those prospect boards before the prospect hunters got bored of him because it took him a little longer. This is a talented player that you sent out. Then you expect to get something back. Like they sent out Luis Ortiz, they get Spencer Horwitz back. You may not think Spencer Horwitz is the answer at first base forever. You don't have to. But you can't deny that he's been a productive player. He has returned offense in exchange for pitching. Well, Now's the time to start finding out if Nick Yorke is going to return offense for the pitching we sent out. It's proof of concept. If you can't show that that's going to work, well, then yeah, I'd prefer you be gun shy as opposed to trying to force it into existence if it isn't there. Nick Yorke, though, expect to see a little bit of him. I don't know the division of labor here, but I would say, as consistent as Don Kelly's starting lineups have been, expect that to kind of take a back seat here in September. There's way too many interchangeable parts for them to go with something consistent at this point. In fact, I wouldn't be shocked if you started seeing Cruz and Reynolds take a seat every once in a while. It's important to me that I think they push through with Cruz and try to get him to finish the season on a positive note. But let's just say they get a couple weeks into that and it's not looking that way. You could see them parking his butt a little bit more often and getting some of these kids in. It's an easy way to do it. And I think they could. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about the way power factors into playoff contention. And I'm going to answer a listener question about what happens with service time should there be a lockout or a strike. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. You and I make decisions every single day, but on PrizePicks, being right means cashing in. With football back, PrizePicks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Just pick more or less than 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes, all in less than 60 seconds. I've been playing PrizePicks a little bit lately. It's such a fun way to stay locked in on the season, no matter what's going on, even if you aren't in touch. Sometimes I do it on the NBA just because I feel like it. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. The NFL season is almost here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Money, 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 everybody. It makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. We have an important request. Locked On wants to hear from you. We've put together a survey to learn more about our listeners and make your favorite podcast even better. This is your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't, and answer questions about our advertising. Go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey to get started. Everyone who completes a survey will be entered for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Amazon gift cards. Again, that's lockedonpodcast.com/survey. You can also find the link in the show notes. Thanks for helping us out. Hey, welcome back to Locked On Pirates. Make sure you hit me with a subscribe and a like. Appreciate it. Subscription base is really growing and it impresses me every single week. So power. There's been a lot of people that have been suggesting that the Pirates should probably embrace a small ball philosophy and try to win that way since they're so far away on power. And I can understand that logic, but I just kind of wanted to point out it's a little bit more than a theory. Okay. Teams ranked 20 to 30 in home runs, and the Pirates are dead last in this. They finally have cracked 100 home runs this year, but they're still last place by a good margin. But teams ranked 20 to 30th in home runs are not in the playoff position. All 12 playoff contenders are in the top 19 for home runs. Teams like the Angels and Athletics hit home runs, but they lack depth in other areas, and it's, proving that power alone is not enough. But I will say that almost all the playoff contenders, well, they're above average in home runs, right? The only real outlier is the Milwaukee Brewers. They are 19th in home runs, and they are right now on paper the best team in baseball. The thing that we're going to watch develop here now is when you get to the playoffs, can you keep playing like that? Or does it come down to you're going to get boat raced by some people that hit a lot more home runs than you do? It's going to be an interesting case study, to be honest, because the Brewers have shown throughout the regular season, you can be a great team and you can win. We see this sort of thing in the NFL an awful lot. And I know it's a different sport, so it doesn't 100% line up. But you will see sometimes a team that dominates all regular season running the football. It's what they do. It's their identity. They are a run-first football team, and they're going to run it down your throat. They don't care if you know it or not. If you're old enough, you remember this as a Steelers team, probably from the 90s, right? They're going to run the football, and you can't stop it. That's the point. The Eagles kind of do that. But then when you get to the playoffs, at some point, no matter how you got there, in order to win, you've got to show the ability to throw the pass, right? You've got to show that you've got other ways to win. Well, this is a situation where I think in Major League Baseball, home runs are just too much of a factor. And if you don't hit them, your window to win is very small. I'm sitting here telling you right now that the Brewers have the best record in baseball. And their likelihood of running through these playoffs and coming out on top, because they don't do it with power, is going to limit their ability. They have to do everything perfect in order to win a series. The other teams just got to have 3-4 good swings, and it can sometimes be the difference. Power makes a huge difference, okay? And then I got a listener question in. I got a few of them, so I'm not going to name a listener here because I think I got asked this question about 10 times, and you're right to be concerned about it. If there's a strike or lockout in 2027, will the Pirates lose a year of team control for players like Paul Skenes? Well, the simplest answer I can give you is functionally no. Players only earn service time when games are played. So if the season is delayed or shortened, players earn partial service time, which could delay free agency or arbitration. A lockout could actually benefit small market teams in this area. Okay. It doesn't mean like that it's a plan. It's not something that you want to do, but it doesn't benefit the players to be missing games, and it doesn't kill the owners to be missing games, and it doesn't reset everything on your team control of players. Now, sometimes during the negotiations of how they're going to come out of a CBA lockdown or strike, or you'll see a little bit of negotiation in that where the players will negotiate that they get their service time for time missed. Let's say that there's a lengthy lockout. It goes into 3-4 months. Well, let's hope it's not 4 months, because that would be ridiculous. You'd have another like one of those 60 game season type things that don't count. But let's say that they just miss a month. Well, first of all, Major League Baseball will move heaven and earth to find a way to make sure that that month worth of games finds its way back into the schedule, even if the World Series has to be played in late November, early December. You know what I mean? they'll do whatever they have to do to try to make it. We saw this play out in 2021, actually. So it's not as though we don't know it can happen. They'll try to make it so that there's no service time missed because they won't miss any games. They'll find a way. Now, you get to the point where you miss half a season, that's not possible. They'll work something out. Either they'll credit the players with that full season, even though they didn't play a full season, or they'll fight them on that. They'll use that as a carrot, basically. Like, if you're going to push this, I just want to make sure you know you're not going to get your service time. We will not bend on that negotiation. You'll see that sort of thing. For the most part, just to end the negotiations and get back to playing, both of these sides will come together. They'll end up paying them. They'll end up crediting the service time. It'll end up working out. They won't miss a full season. That's the goal. But when you're talking something transformative like a salary cap, for instance, which let's not pretend it's not being discussed pretty openly. Even Bud Selig came out the other day and said that it was time for Major League Baseball to finally embrace it, like all the other sports. If that sort of thing comes, well, then you have a whole new reason to not care about this, because service time won't be nearly as frightening as it was. If they come out of this with a full salary cap system that you would expect, there's no reason that the Pirates couldn't sign anyone they want, just like every other team. That's the point of having it, right? So you wouldn't worry nearly as much about who's got 5 years of team control. Plus, the other thing I think is highly negotiable in this CBA, and this is why this is such a hard question to answer. A lot of the big focus of this is probably going to be on the service time system to begin with. Let's say you do get a salary cap. Well, there's no way the players are going to give you a salary cap and then on top of that, go ahead and let you continue to have 5, 6, even in some cases 7 years of control of them before they reach free agency. That whole system will get blown up if there's a salary cap. Like, you'll probably have something much more akin to what they do in the NHL, where you come in on like an NHL entry level draft position, and you have some options in those years where you can get sent back down or brought up. There's a little bit of flexibility, 2-way contract type thing, but your service time, is much shorter. The team has much less time to decide whether you're part of the future or not. Things like what we're going through with O'Neal Cruz right now, where he's going to hit arbitration and you're still kind of iffy on what to do, whether you should extend. Those decisions will be gone. You will have had to have made that call on O'Neal Cruz probably 2 years ago. And you won't get killed the way you have. I think there's going to be a whole bunch of new stuff that comes in with this. And it's hard for me to predict for you how it would come out on the other end of a negotiation that in and of itself is fundamentally changing the game of baseball. I can tell you based on the rules right now what would happen, and I just did. But those very rules would be up for negotiation. You understand? So I'm telling you what would happen based on that. But this is why you don't see teams truly, not even the Pirates, planning for the eventuality of that shutdown or that lockout or that strike. Because even if they did, they don't know what it's going to look like coming out the other side. For all I know, they could come out of that CBA and they've completely eliminated this service time thing. And from moment one, the Pirates have to make a decision. Do we want to sign Paul Skenes right this second? And maybe they get some kind of a chip where it's almost like in the NFL where you can say this guy's a franchise player and that gives you the opportunity to pay him like the top 10% of the league. Or who knows what this will come out with. You see why it's such a difficult conversation. Like, as we get closer to it and you start hearing more of the rumored leaks of what people are going to be trying for, as opposed to the positioning that we're seeing now, we'll have a more clear picture of what we can actually expect here. But On the surface, the answer to this question is pretty simple. No, you will not lose player control during that period of time. And they won't accrue service time during that period of time. Now, keep in mind, again, that could all change. That's all I'm saying. Right now, no. But if it does change that drastically, the comforting part of that is if it does change that drastically, the system probably has too, and then you don't care as much. So I hope that answers the question. That's about the best I could do under the current circumstances. When we come back, let's look a little bit at the Pirates' road ahead. Boy, they got a tough homestand coming up. Hey, Locked On Pirates fans, are you still paying full price for gas? Stop leaving money behind. Get real cash back every time you fill up with a free Upside app. Simply download the free Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now and start earning cash at the pump today. Use my limited time promo code SEASON. Get an extra 25 cents back per gallon on your first fill up. You could make up to $300 a year just from buying the gas you already needed. At first, I thought it was too good to be true, but it's totally legit. Real people are getting paid just to make their daily commutes, and you can too. Plus, you can cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, or even an e-gift card for Amazon or other brands. Don't let this offer drive on by. Download the free Upside app now using my limited time promo code SEASON for a limited time 25 cent per gallon bonus. That's promo code SEASON. Offers vary by user and location. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions. All right, hey, welcome back to Locked On Pirates. Brutal homestand coming up. Now, that doesn't always mean that we're going to lose all these games, but the Dodgers and Brewers coming to town does not sound particularly fun, right? Two division leaders coming to town. And the Pirates have played pretty well against this sort of competition. So I don't hate it. And we've already talked about how they've played so much better since the All-Star break. Well, listen, I don't care where you are in the playoff standings. When you play these teams that are in it, you want to show them up. You want to show who you are stacked up against them, and you want to show that you can beat them. And the Pirates have been doing a really good job of that. In fact, I would argue that this team plays up to competition better than they play down to guys they should beat. I think they have a better case against a lot of these better teams than they do the good ones or the bad ones. Now, it hasn't worked out for the Brewers, but the Brewers are a special case, right? I mean, like they're playing like far and away the best team in the National League. The Dodgers, since 2022, they're 7-10 versus the Pirates, and I think that there's a reason for that. The Pirates just get really up for playing the Dodgers, and the Dodgers, I think, get really down for playing the Pirates. I just think they overlook them. Then I understand that, but this Pirates team can pitch, and they can shut down that Dodgers offense that hasn't been as world beater looking as you would have thought it would on paper. These matchups are big for development opportunities for young pitchers. So we're going to have Carmen Mlodzinski and Braxton Ashcraft going in this one. Paul Skenes, the marquee matchup, really, if you ask me, is Paul Skenes versus Blake Snell. I won't say that it's like a big personal head-to-head, but I think that's probably one of those situations where Paul is going to either be looking to win a series or salvage a game. I would imagine by then it looks like a setup of 1-1 to me by the time they get to him in the third game of this series. But I think that this is a learning opportunity when you get to face a team like this, and when we get to face the Brewers again too. Let's just be real. There's probably a little bit of revenge in their hearts. The Pirates got destroyed by the Brewers. That was one of the most embarrassing series that I can remember this whole year. And now you get them at home, and I would really like to see this same unit turn around and deliver a much, much more promising performance. I'd rather lose 3 games by 1 run each than get the snot beat out of me for 3 straight games, So I'm looking forward to both of these series. And again, I really do, for some reason, feel that this team plays better against better competition. Like, look what they just did to the Red Sox. Like, that Red Sox team was hotter than the fires of hell coming into that series. And the Pirates, well, what did they do? They took the first 2. And, they got outplayed in the third one, but not tremendously. I mean, if they had hit decent and pitched the way they normally do, they probably sweep that series. They shocked the Red Sox. That's a team that you're going to be hard pressed to find a Pirates fan that doesn't envy that roster. Maybe not on the mound. I mean, I think we can honestly boast that the Pirates have better pitching. But that hitting, that we're not supposed to be able to do that, even with this pitching. We're so envious of. We could probably pluck 3 guys off their bench and feel that we're improving our starting 9. Yeah, but they play up to teams like that, and I love to watch that. And I think that's what we're going to see again. When Shohei Ohtani goes tomorrow, I don't know what to expect. He's been doing these shorter outings because they can't do his rehab in AAA for pitching from Tommy John. So you're seeing, 1 inning outings, 2 inning outings. And I think that'll probably continue here. I doubt we'll see a full outing from him where he starts. And then who knows what they'll go to after him. But I wouldn't bill it as a Shohei Ohtani start. You know what I mean? I think it'll be interesting to see. And I certainly love seeing. I'm going to make sure I'm there. I love seeing guys like that every opportunity I get. But it shouldn't be a situation where you're afraid to face these teams. This is what you want. These are the teams you're supposed to be able to beat if you want to be in their category. And a lot of this team is returning next year. So, I want to see these matchups down the stretch. This is the stuff I want to see. A series against, Colorado does nothing for me at this point. A series against the White Sox, it doesn't interest me. A series against the Angels or the A's, I'd love seeing some of those players, Jacob's kid, Nick Kurtz, and all that. But that doesn't do anything for me as far as learning more about this club and what they could do next year based on this mix of players. So I want to see them go against the best. This is going to be fun. Don't go woe is me when you get these tough matchups. Look forward to them. You learn a hell of a lot more in these situations than you do facing somebody that you should beat. I'm sorry. This is a lot more important than a Marlins series or something at this point. Nick Yorke's arrival is overdue. Power is the Pirates' Achilles heel. And the next week, we'll test the mettle of the rotation. If you want to know where this team is headed, watch how they handle the Dodgers and Brewers. And if a lockout comes, don't worry. Pirates won't lose control of their young stars. Till next time, let's go Bucks.